After yesterday, you can do whatever you want to us, and it won't matter. We were in Green Bay, Wisconsin yesterday, and we had probably one of the toughest days of facilitation we've ever had. So we're excited to be with you all today.
Let's just say it was the toughest.
Yeah, it was the toughest.
Yeah.
When somebody's on the ground with a teacher's foot on their neck and the cops show up, the conversation gets set back a little bit.
So that's an example of how you could detract from the activity today.
So, right. Damn you for interrupting me. That's just horrible. So, man, I'm really bummed too. I really screwed up because I've been thinking for 2 weeks about asking Rafe to sit in with us this morning. And because we've been on the road and I've been like trying to get the next day done, not like 2 days ahead or a week ahead. I just spaced it out, so sorry, brother.
Dude.
We next time we're gonna do this. We played at the Tahoma Unitarian Universalist Church.
Yes.
In the last time I was down here, and we rocked the house together. There was more than 6 people there.
There were.
But it sounds like the kind of venue that anybody was welcome to.
Oh man,
That's right.
yeah. It's like,
So true. Like, why don't you say?
yeah. If somebody gets kicked out of that church, you got something wrong. All right. We're gonna. We didn't know if we were gonna begin with music, but after the last time, a few people called and some emails, and really, I was reminded myself that this, we gotta be doing this part, but we also have to be doing this part, and so we'll just open the day with a few songs to set the tone and hopefully engage your heart and your soul a little bit.
It isn't fair the way you smile, and it isn't right each time you pass me by. But I think I have found heaven on the ground, but I can't get close to you even when you're around me. I will stay down to be with you now, heaven on the ground. It isn't nice to tease a fool, and it isn't right the way I lose my cool. But I think I have found heaven on the ground, but I can't get close to you even when you're around me. I will stay down to be with you now, heaven on the ground. So we've made a very conscious choice to open our music experience with a love song. And this is really something that we offer because I think it reminds us that we all have this desire to connect and to see love reflected back to us in our relationships. And to begin with, we want to drive home this idea that we have everything we need in this community to make the changes and to reach the objectives that we're working towards. You know, we have all of the skills and all the stories and all the nuances and complexities of each one of us to dive into these issues of power and privilege and difficult subjects, and to really open lines of communication in a way where we can be very vulnerable and feel like our voice will count. And so we're really honored to be a part of this today, and we encourage you to really tap into what we know to be borderless creativity, borderless compassion, borderless courage, and a borderless sense of stewardship for our community, and a universal idea of justice for everyone. And in that spirit, I want to offer a word that comes from part of my cultural heritage, which is this idea of we the people. We the people here today. But in a way that has been used in these continents for thousands and thousands of years. And the word is Nikanlaka. Can you say Nikanlaka?
Nikanlaka.
Yeah, right on. Say that one more time. Nikanlaka.
Nikanlaka.
Nikanlaka means we the people here today. And let's celebrate this idea that we are in this unique space today to accomplish some goals. And let's do it in a way that really taps into the boundless possibilities and, you know, and rooted in the heart, rooted in our creative expression and our stories. So really appreciated your story this morning to set off the day. I think that was a perfect way to start. So one more time, let me hear you say Nikanlaka.
Nikanlaka.
Right on. I think I have found heaven on the ground, but I can't get close to you. Even when you're around me, I will stay down to be with you now. Heaven on the ground, I will stay down to be with you now. Heaven on the ground, I will stay down to be with you now. Heaven on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you. Wade and I have been working on this this idea of borderless as a sort of a new way for us to explore creatively and musically all of the themes that we've always dealt with, you know, sustainability and social justice and community and equity, but we feel like in some ways we need to be thinking about things in new ways in a new century. And you know, sometimes ideas just, they attach themselves to you not because you fully kind of comprehend, you know, the scope of an idea, but because there's some kind of intuitive connection to a word or an idea or a theme. And borderless has just resonated with us. And partly because if you think about it, in the natural world, in the world, sort of the way that the world intends itself to be, borders don't really exist, at least not in the way that we think of them usually. I mean, when you think of borders, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of a border? An obstacle, something in the way. A division, a barrier. What else? Territory. Like all the words that you're saying to me right now kind of almost connotate straight lines, which, you know, in a way don't exist in nature either. So borderlessness is kind of a way for us to imagine the world a little differently, less about what we put on it and more about the way it is itself. So in other words, okay, so we have national borders, which in our mind we see as set kind of physical barriers, as a concrete thing, but really national borders are totally abstract. You know, they don't even follow the contours usually of nature. You know, straight lines across the desert. The Rio Grande, which is an ecosystem, a riparian ecosystem on both sides of it, where species and air and water and pesticides, whatever, flow really freely across that border, but somehow we can't. But you know, so there's our national borders and boundaries, but there's also, you know, these boundaries that we build around everything that Rob was talking about this morning, our race and sexual orientation and gender and ethnicity and language and ability. We're creating these mental constructs, these borders that divide our communities. And the truth is, and this is what we're coming to, the truth of this is that these boundaries, whether they be national boundaries or mental boundaries around our differences, don't serve us very well. I mean, money, people with money have been living in a borderless world for a while, like since the 80s, and trade tariffs coming down and free trade coming up. I mean, money flows around this world very freely without many borders around it. If you have a lot of it, if you don't have much of it, it's hard to tap into that global market, which is creating a more and more unequal society where very few of us actually have access to the goods of the world, and most of us are living out our lives struggling to just get ahead a little bit, with less likelihood now to do better than our parents than 20, 30, or 40 years ago. So these borders and boundaries of the mind serve the folks at the very, very top. And the rest of us play out our racisms and our sexisms and our ideas around what, I got a little bit more money, I live in a little bit better neighborhood than these folks, around race. Racism doesn't serve racists. It serves people at the very top who are benefit by the idea that poor people are divided. Does that make sense? Poor folks start to get together around issues of economic justice and healthcare justice and land ownership justice, and they start poor folks get together across racial boundaries. That's a threat to the status quo. That's a threat to the people at the very top. So, without going on and on and on, I mean, I get kind of passionate about this because I'm starting to get angry about the inequity. I mean, these kids that we were working with yesterday in Green Bay have totally been abandoned by our systems. They've been abandoned by their neighborhoods, they've been abandoned by their parents, they've been abandoned by the education